Life Management Science Labs would like to acknowledge that we live and produce this podcast on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. We'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands of our listeners and our international colleagues. We'd like to pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Hi, and welcome to Self-Improvement Atlas, the Personal Science Insights podcast produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. We are champions of life management science, providing structured insights informed by science and inspired by practice on key aspects of conscious living. Each week, we bring you scientific and practical insights on each element with the expert knowledge of professionals in the field. I'm Marie Stella, your host from Melbourne, Australia. Let's start the show. Welcome back to Self-Improvement Atlas, the Personal Science Insights podcast. This is a particularly interesting episode to me because we'll be delving into clothing and how it affects our confidence. And I myself have been on a quest to build a wardrobe that's easy to wear and versatile, yet makes me feel good. So we have fashion stylist Maya Lee here with us in the studio today to share some of her professional insights with us. Hi, Maya. Thank you for coming in. How are you going?
Hi, Marie. Thank you for having me. I'm doing well today. Thank you.
That's great to hear. So tell us a bit about yourself and how you got into this.
So I used to actually work in banking for 10 odd years up until 2016. And then I decided to quit cold turkey, have no real plans. And I'm like, I needed to do something a bit more creative. And I've always had an interest in fashion since I was little. Then I discovered there was like a personal styling course, so I did that. And then I started to help mainly women kind of like edit their wardrobe, take them shopping, and then eventually transitioned to men a little while after that.
That's fascinating. Fascinating that you managed to do like this whole 180 switch from banking, out of all things, to something so creative. So before we get started, we want to get to know you a bit better. This is Have You Met Maya Lee? What is your favorite book?
I think my favorite book, especially in the realm of personal development, would be Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. I actually listened to the audiobook. It was like over 10 hours long, and that helped me progress my career when I was working in banking. And I didn't expect it to, but it was quite powerful and magical what happened within like 3 to 4 months of reading that.
Wow, it sounds like I need to listen to that audiobook as well. What is your favorite movie?
My favorite movie is, I think, The Big Fish with Ewan McGregor as the main actor. And I think why that is there's this core theme in the movie where he reads about goldfish, and he says if you keep it in a small jar, then it stays small. But if you make the jar bigger, it can grow like 3 times as big.
That's a good statement to live by, I feel like. So I can see why that would be your favorite movie. What podcast have you been listening to lately?
Lately, I've discovered, this has been on YouTube, the Big Think channel, and it's just talking about a lot of big topics. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, interesting. Who's a famous role model that you admire?
I had to think about this. And as of late, I'd say it's Zendaya.
Yeah, Queen.
She's
Love
very
her.
talented and always very stylish. And there's this, confidence and versatility about her character that I really like.
I feel like I always looked up to her since Disney Channel.
Oh, wow.
Because her style is just top notch. Like always serving looks left and right. It's just amazing. What's the last course that you completed?
Can't remember. I can't remember. But lately I've been like collecting more books to read. So
yeah, that's cute. I love that. I collect very specifically cookbooks.
Oh,
I just feel like it's an art form, so I completely see what you mean, like collecting books. It's kind of like that thing that you can't stop doing. Like when you start with one thing and then you build it up, and then you like go to a shop somewhere in town, not expecting to find anything at all. Then you see one book that would fit right into your collection, and now you have to get it.
well, I was
Now
at
you're collecting
Dimix
books.
like a couple of days ago,
Yeah.
and I was just browsing, and I came home with like a big armful of books. Like, oops.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That happens to me every time I go to readings, and it doesn't help that they have like a sofa there, the one emporium. It's so comfortable as well, so you can definitely like just just plop all your books with yourself onto the couch, and it just makes things so much easier to bring home a lot of books.
Nice.
Um, now that we've gotten to know you, let's touch on the personal development, how clothing affects it. So how do you define personal development?
I think it's such a big topic and there's so many facets to it. But if I try to summarize, it's about discovering your personal power, your personal potential. And I think it's an ongoing quest to discover what you're capable of.
Yeah, I agree with you there. What are the main challenges in personal development?
I think people don't realize how powerful they are and they can be. So it's kind of like a lack of awareness thing. But when you do realize, there's so much more I can do, there's so much more I can be, then things start moving. But yeah, it's people don't realize that they can do so much more. They kind of stuck in a pattern or a rut, just almost living mindlessly. And when you kind of like step out of that, that's when the magic happens.
Yeah, it's probably something to do with like the universal experience of having imposter syndrome or something, like feeling like you're not doing enough, or feeling like whatever you're doing is just like small little things, and and then that kind of maybe impedes the whatever. I don't know what I'm saying.
That's all right. There's that, and then I think people don't necessarily stop to question themselves and question their life. Like there must be more than this, more than the grind of waking up to your 9 to 5, for instance, and just going to work, come home, eat what she eat.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Like some people are just completely satisfied with the cycle, like whatever they're given.
Or they pretend they're satisfied.
Or they pretend they're satisfied.
Well.
They just like go through life being like, oh well,
that's how
I can't do any more than this, so why try? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So how do you define clothing?
Clothing, I think first and foremost for me personally, it's fun. It's self-expression, and I think there was a moment, I think it was like kindergarten or grade 1, where apparently it was a dress-up day at school, and I think I missed the memo, or my parents didn't get the memo, but we were sitting, my class was sitting on the floor in a big circle, and there was a girl across from the circle, and she was wearing this big, beautiful, fluffy, pink kind of fairy-like princess dress, and I'm like, like I want that, or I wanted to be her in a sense. And that's been a core memory for me. And so it's kind of magical that she got to dress up that way. And then I think I guess I use my body as a canvas in a sense, and use clothing to tell your story.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. And in a sense, how much would you say that clothing contributes to personal development? Because you did mention something about like, using your body as a canvas with the clothing. How much would you say that it contributes to your personal development?
I think it depends on what your goals are. Like with all personal development tools, unless you are using it for something, it's kind of just useless. Like if you're cooking and, you want to make a cake, then yes, you need all these ingredients. But if you weren't making a cake, then, a cake tin would be useless. So yes, we all wear clothes and to protect ourselves and get by and not be fined for indecent exposure. But I think if you stop to think about it, it makes a difference when you don't feel like yourself. And then you collect the tools, in your closet to remind you of who you want to be and what you want to do. And then when you're dealing with people and you want to make a difference or influence them in a way or help them understand who you are, then clothing does make a difference. And I had the style coach, and her teaching was that it can be like the cake, the icing on the cake. Because, for example, say you're in a corporate environment and you have all the skills and you have experience, but if you don't show up like who you want to be and the role you're trying to get to, then people kind of get confused. The message might not be clear if you're not dressed a certain way.
Yeah. And with that being said, what advice do you have for people who want to develop their personal style?
Well, what I did with my clients, the first step is kind of come up with your life goals. It could be, for yourself, but also like what you want to create or what you want to build in the world. So yeah, it really starts there. And then if you're not too clear, then another path you could take is just to explore and get curious. So I get my clients to go onto like Pinterest and just explore and put in like keywords or put in different even movie character names and look for their outfits and see what you resonate with and just pin a whole bunch of pictures. And then once you've got like over 30 or so, you kind of just analyze it and assess and see what the themes are and go, oh, I like that. And I didn't know I liked that because maybe you hadn't been exposed to it in your real life. So that's the starting point.
Yeah. And how does clothing affect one's mood and confidence?
So for me, I'm a big lover of color. Like to me, seeing color, like colors of the rainbow, for instance, represents life. And I see it like birds and flowers and fruit and butterflies. And yeah, there's a thing about coming to life with your clothes. And like if you walk around Melbourne, you'll see a lot of people dressed in like a lot of the urban colors, black, grey, blue, white. And look, there's nothing wrong with it. And you can look stylish in those colors. But for me, I think, especially in Melbourne, we can stand to express ourselves a bit more with some more color, some more pattern. And it kind of induces a mood. And I think for me, especially, with the last few years being in lockdown and everything, I think the energy here is kind of slowed down. It's kind of come down a bit. And I tend to wear a lot of bright colours. And sometimes I feel like out of place, but I know that it lifts my mood to wear it. And then I'm like, when people see me, they must feel something too. Just like when I see someone wearing sparkly, I saw someone wearing sparkly blue pants the other day, and I loved seeing that.
Yeah, I get what you mean. When I came in to the studio and I saw you in that sweater, I was like, that's a great sweater. Love that for her. Like, it made me happy, like, for you, because it looked great on you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, see, like, yeah, as long as you felt happy, like, you didn't necessarily need to wear it.
Yeah, like,
but
I
you
wouldn't...
see how it makes a difference with people.
That's so interesting because, like, I wouldn't think of wearing that sweater myself, and, like, I would be so upset in the sweater, like, but, like, seeing it on someone else because it's a great sweater, like, that's nice. So how do you think we can enhance our mood and confidence through clothing?
like obviously you got to wear something you're comfortable in and that it suits your lifestyle and what you're up to that day. Like it doesn't really work to wear high heels on a hike.
Yeah.
Right. So there is definitely that functionality aspect. That's the base. And then you want to start to integrate just things you love that kind of bring, like, light your eyes up a bit. I think it's definitely personal, right? And everyone likes different things. So you just got to decide what you like, what makes sense to you, what means something to you, what makes you feel good, what makes you might have even like a pin or something. You can start with something small, and when you see it, like even in the mirror, when you go to the bathroom or when you get dressed, you go, oh, that reminds me of who I am and what I love. And I think being in that energy and being in that space, when you remind that kind of helps you go about your day, helps you do the things you need to do to like accomplish your goals. But it can make you feel better for that day as well. So if you're wearing stuff you hate, like stuff that might be 20 years old, it's probably not serving you because you've changed as a person. And you're using expired clothes, most likely.
Yeah.
And you want to keep it fresh because we're always changing. You always need a bit of new.
It does remind me of how, like, when I was younger, I feel like this is probably something that not most, but lots of people go through as well. When I was younger, I think I followed a lot of trends, and so I get a lot of very like tight-fitting clothes. Don't know why. I was very young. I shouldn't have done that. But it was like it was, I think it was very like common, especially on media and everything. So I thought it was very common. And so all my friends and we all be wearing like really tiny clothes that did not look flattering on our bodies at all or did not feel comfortable. But it's just what everyone was wearing or was told to wear. And we didn't feel like necessarily good in it. It's just what was popular at the time. Versus like growing up and being an adult and like wearing stuff that actually is comfortable and suits you. Such a big change in mood, I feel like. Because you also feel better about yourself, just like knowing that you're in something that you want to wear. You know?
I think it acts like a second skin. So you want to be comfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to like or irritated in it. And I think just, with your story, when we're young, it's full on experimental mode. And I think in that time, like especially as a teenager, you're trying to figure out who you are in the world. So you try things on, you experiment. And sometimes it takes that to tell, like, so that you become aware of what you don't want to be and what you don't want to wear. You need that contrast sometimes to then, when you become an adult, you realize, oh, I don't want that. I want something else. So, sometimes you need that.
Yeah,
that
sometimes
contrast.
you need to fail to succeed.
Yeah, that too.
Is that a quote? I don't know.
It is now.
All right, now we're going into the practice/habit experiment debrief, and we'll just ask you some questions about applying this to your everyday life. So what is a practice that you can do on clothing to improve your mood and confidence?
How regular are we talking?
Let's say on the weekly basis, or like every few days.
One thing that comes to mind is before you get dressed. So it might be in the morning or it might be the evening before if you're preparing for your next day or even the week. Some people, organize outfits on the weekend for the whole week. And it's pretty much just to ask yourself, who do you want to be that day and what do you need to do? You might have heard of people dressing for their day now because especially a lot of people working from home and not always having meetings. So I think a lot of people workwear has relaxed a bit. So it's asking yourself, who do you want to be that day? And I think you can think of yourself as like a movie character. So you're the main character of your movie, and who do you want to be? How do you want to appear to people? Like if you think of movies and TV, there's a costume designer behind every character, every person that appears on screen, and they are using clothes and fashion to tell a story to help us understand what's going on. We all rely on these visual cues to get through life. So, yeah, it's just asking yourself, like, do I want to be happy today? Do I want to look serious today? And then you go to your closet and like, does this item or this outfit match who I want to express myself as that day? So you can do that every day. I don't do it every day, and like I'm not, you get the I don't know what to wear problem, and that happens to me too. And then I have to remember, okay, if I approach it from here, then you have a benchmark to work towards.
Yeah. That's fascinating to me. I've never thought of it that way, the costume designer mentality. That's so interesting, and I really want to see what they come up with, just thinking about like just channeling my inner costume designer onto myself.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Do it. Let me know how you go.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Like, let me know next week.
Next week, okay. So what are 3 good things about this practice that you've shared?
You've highlighted some. It just gives you an intention. Like, if you're trying to get somewhere, like with Google Maps, you need to enter the destination. So it just gives you clear direction, and then you're not all just floundering all over the place. So there's intention there. And then, I don't know. What else is there? It helps you just set up your day. And I guess you have more control about how you appear in the world as opposed to winging it.
Mm-hmm. True. Yeah. I think right now, my standard operating procedure has been just having like a set of clothing that I rotate throughout the week. And these are all things that can be paired with each other.
Yeah,
and then so I never have to think about like too much. I don't have to think too much about how it like looks. And then they all also at the same time make me feel good and are comfortable, and they have to check all these boxes. And then that's all I'm rotating. Like that's all I'm working with right now. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, like
so efficient.
It's great. It's really efficient, but at the same time, it's like, maybe you want to inject some excitement into that once in a while. So costume designer mentality will be good for that, I think.
Cool.
What are the challenges when doing this?
You have to think. It's like, what? I have to decide for myself today.
Yeah.
Damn.
And not a lot of people want to think like before heading out for work at 9 a.m.
It becomes like a creative process. But I think like you just take 5 minutes, like even sit down, write it out so you can see the words.
Yeah.
I think that will help.
Yeah.
And I think that applies to personal development in general. Like, I want to get somewhere. Damn, I've got to do the work. So, I think it might not be easy to begin with, but I don't think it has to be hard.
Well, that's true, because if you think about it, you have to think for lots of things.
Yeah, you're not used to thinking that way, so it's going to use different neurons.
It's just, I reckon it's like one of those things where it gets easier to think about with time.
Yeah. For sure.
How often do you do this costume designer mentality?
I think I do it every day. Maybe not necessarily on a conscious level, but I think we're doing it whether we actively think about it or not. And for me, I like to, like, especially lately, I've been mixing it up a bit more. And I think I've been in a somewhat style rut as well. It might not look like it to the outside world, but I'm like, I need some freshness, need some newness. And I needed more pattern, more texture because I was wearing a lot of block colors. And I guess that comes from like, I want to refresh myself. I want to renew myself, reinvigorate myself and become a new, better version of me. So that it must happen every day.
Yeah, that's so interesting that you, because like, can I just share this?
Yeah.
Just because I feel like there's an interesting juxtaposition there, but at the same time so similar, because while you were trying to reinvigorate yourself and get out of a creative rut, you're like, okay, I need more pattern, more texture, more like all of this stuff. I was trying to calm down. I was trying to like ground myself and like really, because I felt very chaotic, and I was like, all right, I'm going to step away from colors now, and I'm sticking to blacks, whites, beiges, anything more neutral. So like greens are like anything with color is fine if it's muted, and like for example, my olive pants, that's fine because that's easy to match. Whatever. It also feels very like it emulates that like groundedness, you know. Yeah. So I think that's, yeah, I just thought that was really interesting. I can't remember what I was going to say.
Yeah, I think it depends on what you're up to in life because, you know, your attention's spread out in different areas of your life. And if something gets too much, then, you got to tone it down. It's not just about your wardrobe. If you're overworked and burnt out, you're going to bring it back too. So it makes sense. Just got to be careful not to, I guess, overcorrect. I think there's a harmony and a balance to take in anything.
Yeah, and it's not the end of the world to not have that much color in your wardrobe at all. It's just whatever makes you feel like yourself, I guess.
Yep.
So how do you find the time to do this?
For me, I make the time because I enjoy playing with clothes. But if, like with anything, if you schedule it in and give yourself, I don't know, 15 minutes in the evening, I think that should be more than enough. Like if you set yourself the deadline, then you got to get it done. Yeah. Just like this morning, I knew I had to be at 9, so I had no time to fret about and keep changing my outfits. So the deadline helps.
Yeah. Do you normally go through a few different outfits, like change through a few different outfits before settling on one?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I play around. Because even when you just lay it out on the bed, for instance, it always looks different on. And then you look yourself in the mirror like, oh, is this who I am today?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, that's me. And I enjoy that process. I understand that other people don't necessarily have the time or are that interested in fashion to play around, but that's my fun.
Yeah. I used to do the exact same thing. I think I'd take like an hour just deciding what to wear. But yeah, it definitely, I feel like, speeds up with time and you start knowing what looks good and what doesn't on you. So based on your experience, do you have any other recommendations of practice to be combined or improved with this costume designer mentality?
I think like once you kind of figure out like with you what works together, then the process becomes more efficient. My only thing to add, like I want to say is it's more of be open to new things as well. Like with anything, I don't think we should get too comfortable being stuck in, well, not necessarily stuck, but just being in a constant pattern because you never know what new magic there is that could come into your life to make it even better. So I guess, stay a little bit open.
Yeah, and also like as humans, we are ever changing, we're always growing. So maybe our personal style should develop with that as well. So now we'll ask you some questions from the audience and ask you to share your thoughts. Is that okay?
We'll see how we go.
First question is, can wearing certain fabrics impact our mood throughout the day?
Yes. So I know people are shopping online a lot more, and to me it kind of sucks because you can't touch the fabric because you want to make sure you like it on your skin. Sometimes it's like itchy, like, certain knits, or it's too stiff, like with the really cheaper fabrics. So I think that's very important because, you feel on your skin all day. It's like someone touching you all day, and if you don't like how it feels, it doesn't work. So I think temperature comes into play, and
Yeah, follow-up question there, because I'm curious.
Yeah.
Are there any fabrics you stay away from and any fabrics that you tend to gravitate towards?
In recent times, I've been gravitating towards softer fabrics and knits and stuff because I think it just feels more comforting. And then recently, stuff with viscose, especially blends, I noticed that they pill and look fuzzy and raggedy really quickly. So I've been avoiding that, especially like with pants. Like there's this brand I buy from a lot and their clothes have been great. And then I bought these pants that I love the silhouette of. And then I didn't wear it for like months. And then I started wearing it. I wore it a few times. And I'm like, what happened here? Like I thought I had rubbed up against something, but it was just general wear. And I was really disappointed because I paid, over $100 for these and it had been too long. So I couldn't even complain about it. So now I actively check the tags, especially for bottoms.
Yeah, that's a smart move because I don't know if people even, maybe it's just me. I don't check the tag very often. Like I just go by what feels good.
Yeah.
But maybe that's something to start thinking about if you also want to make the most bang for your buck.
Yeah, I think so. And the thing is, when you buy it, when it's on the rack, it's been steamed, well presented and everything. So you think it's going to stay like that forever, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
And then there's linen, which people wear a bit more in summer. And I hate that it wrinkles and stays wrinkled, even though they say it's a look. So for me, with like linen stuff, I mean, like I'm slowly integrating a bit more, but I tend to look for stuff with texture that isn't necessarily a flat color. So then, yes, you accept that it wrinkles, but it doesn't look as like severe or raggedy because the texture kind of camouflages the creases.
Yeah. Yeah, I was laughing a bit there because I am one of those linen people, and I'm one of those people that goes like, well, it's a look.
Yeah. So you've accepted it.
Well, it's just all up to like what you feel like represents you. So, second question. How do the clothes we wear influence our body language and posture, and in turn, our confidence?
So over the years, I've definitely discovered that your clothes is way more than surface level because it comes from an internal expression and then also impacts how you feel. So how you feel impacts what you wear, and what you wear also impacts how you feel and then how you kind of behave. So I think I use myself as an example. I want to appear more friendly, more relatable. So then I've been also wearing the softer clothes. And you got to find that balance between how you feel inside and how you appear outside. And then there's times where you might want to be like really serious, to the point, direct, not fluff around, be clear in your communication. And then you might want to wear things that have more structure, or even like a blazer, where there's like structured shoulders and everything because you're feeling a bit more serious. You're taking on maybe like tougher conversations. So that acts as a tool to remind you and to communicate with others that, this is a serious conversation and it's not necessarily a social call. So, I think it impacts how you're received, how you present yourself. And I like to refer to like logos and graphic design. It's a bit more impersonal when you refer to that. And there's all this whole science behind why a logo is created with this color and this line, this shape. And it's to evoke certain thoughts and associations and emotions. So why not use that information to apply to how you present yourself?
Yeah, and it sounds super sciencey and just almost unreal when you first come into it and you look at all the colors and what they mean. It's like, how can this possibly evoke all of this like in real life? And then you actually put it to practice and you're like, oh, yeah.
It does, and it happens
does.
so fast.
Yeah.
Like we process information really quickly.
Yeah.
And that's why they say, you know, your first impression does count, especially if you want it to count.
Yeah, science.
Yeah.
So, third question, how do you feel about social trends?
I think it's fun. Sometimes you need to try it for yourself to know if it works. I know for me, like there's things that I love the idea of and I love it on other people, but when I try it, it doesn't work. So sometimes you just gotta try it. But like the trends, it's definitely speaking to something in society that was probably missing. And I don't think you can prevent it. But if you buy into a trend, I think maybe a big part of it is wanting a sense of belonging and excitement to try out something new. But like if your friend's doing this, you kind of want to be part of that experience. So then you try it out as well. And I think that's okay as long as you can acknowledge that. And then once you try it and it doesn't work, you go, okay, that wasn't for me, and accept it. And you don't necessarily have to make yourself wrong about it. Just accept, okay, I tried it out, didn't work, move on, and have the confidence to move on and say, this wasn't for me. And I think like, I'm just thinking of like certain groups of friends, and sometimes you see on social media, they all dress similar, or they might have the same kind of hairstyle, and that's great. And then once in a while I go, where's their individuality? And I love it. I love seeing groups of people where they're all friends and they can all be respectful and talk about the same things or different things and get along, but they all dress differently. And I find that fascinating, and I like the diversity of it all. Yet there's this kind of inclusiveness in a different way where you don't have to actually look the same to relate.
Yeah, is that the dynamic that you have with your friends yourself?
Yeah, I think so. At the moment, my friends and I have different personal styles. But we connect on different intellectual topics.
Yeah, that's fun. I can relate to that because my best friend and I, we have this running joke where we wear the same color, but we are still wearing completely different things.
Yeah,
we still look completely different. Like she looks like a put together mom, and I look like some punk kid sometimes. So fourth question, I think that's the fourth question now. Are there specific colors or styles of clothing that are known to have a positive impact on mood and confidence?
Yeah, it just depends. I think depends on where you're going, depends on who you are, depends on where you've been and your upbringing, and as well as your environment. There's actually so many factors now that I say it out loud. It's kind of like, what's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Vanilla bean. And I know people are going to hate me for saying that because what a boring flavor.
I like that you said bean.
Yeah.
It's an elevation from just plain vanilla.
You've got to have the bean.
Yeah, so there's nothing wrong with you liking vanilla. But I wouldn't necessarily say vanilla is my favorite color.
Yeah.
So that works for you, that makes you happy.
Yeah.
But like what makes me happy is like probably a different flavor. I actually can't, I don't know what it is right now, but it's probably not vanilla bean. And so that makes you happy. It doesn't have to make me happy.
True.
So
yeah, that makes sense.
Like that.
I love that analogy. Are there any specific considerations or guidelines for selecting appropriate attire in various settings? I know you already touched on this before a little bit, but
yep.
Are there any more specific ones that you can bring us
Yeah, it
through?
actually comes down to a science, and it's quite fascinating. Like, you obviously build upon it. But in general, and this is some secret sauce I'm giving away, by the way, I think there's usually like you want to dress in a certain way to impact your social life. And then I'll say there's your professional life, right? There's some two key areas of life. And it's a bit diluted now, but if you want to connect with people socially, then wear like more colorful, more pattern, but like rounder lines and rounder shapes and softer fabrics. And then in a workplace, you want to be taken more seriously. Then you wear straight lines, diagonal lines, more structure, more firmer fabrics. Yeah, that's a foundation of what you people used to wear, and there's a blend now. And I think also because even though you say you're in a professional workplace, you are still dealing with people, so you actually want to integrate both aspects. But on certain days, you might want to be just about the people, so you want to soften yourself a bit. So there's so many varying degrees and considerations, but like especially let's say you're a leader. You still got to look like the leader, but I think you can introduce softer elements like what you might wear under your jacket, for instance, to help connect with people. So you look a bit softer, but you still have some firm and structured elements. And then maybe you're with your friends and you're not feeling too playful that day, then you could add like structured. You might even wear a shirt compared to a t-shirt might make a difference, and just set the mood to be not as relaxed or silly. I don't know if you want that intention.
I love that you use the word silly.
Yeah. I love being silly, by the way.
Last question. How does the process of self-expression through clothing contribute to our confidence and overall well-being?
It feels like a big question. I think as long as you're alive, you're out to create a certain life for yourself. And I guess because we have to wear clothes, then why not have that be a true form of self-expression? And like, I don't think it has to be necessarily a big thing. Like once you've got, your rotation, your weekly rotation of outfits, and that works for you, that's fine. But make sure it's still working for you. And I think it always comes back to self-reflection. When you look at yourself, are you happy with how you're presenting yourself? Even just to yourself in the mirror, are you happy with what you see? Just like if you're a maker of like craft or something, you look at that product, are you happy with what you're making? Or is there room for improvement? And when we see something that we like or we're proud of, that boosts your confidence. And sometimes it's a work in progress. So it takes intervals of self-reflection to make sure it is feeding your confidence. And if it's not, then you're like, okay, what's missing, or what can I remove, or how can I rejig myself? Like, I think you might have a closet full of good clothes, but sometimes you didn't take the time to experiment and match the right things together. So you might have the right tools as well, but maybe you're not using them in the right way or in the right order or the right method. Like if you're cooking and you put the eggs in the wrong time, it might screw up the cake, right?
Yeah, that's a good analogy, because if you put eggs in at the wrong time, sometimes it all messes up.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, now we are moving on to the open mic. This is your chance to talk about anything that you're passionate about. Doesn't have to be related to clothing at all.
Okay, so it's just me talking?
Yeah, take it away. Yeah.
So another thing I've been finding quite important, especially in the last few years in my life, is financial awareness, financial literacy, money mindset. and just be learning about money and how money works in the world, because we all need to deal with money, and there's certain reward to being aware of how it all works. And so for me, I'm interested in building wealth and making it be a good thing instead of thinking of having a lot of money as a bad thing. Like, all rich people must be evil. Like, I think I've been taught that, but like it hasn't impacted me that severely. But once in a while, I notice that that does pop up for me, and then I'm like, oh, do I want to be richer? So I question myself, and then I always get back to like, no, I want more money, because so money, like fashion, it ends up being a tool, and it's a resource to enable you to do more with your life. And I guess I want people to obviously not go into debt, not be bad with money, and then I want them to get to a point where they're producing more income, and using that for good, either for themselves, to live a more expressed life, a better quality of life, or to help other people with that resource. And mindset plays into it, but it's a big part of making money. I don't really have a structure to talk about this from. I just find that it's been very important to me, and I'm noticing that, I used to work in banking, so I was aware of the language and the, I guess, importance of it. And then coming out of that, and I see people struggling with money, and it almost doesn't make sense to me. And then I realize, a lot of people don't have the same working education about money as well as clothes as I do. And it's kind of like this blind spot. And I want people to learn about money, learn about what it all means, basic accounting.
Yeah, it's so important.
So I've been having lots of conversations with different, groups in my network, just to build on financial awareness and literacy, and help build their wealth and get more value out of life.
Yeah, I feel like it's more important than people make it out to be when we are in our earlier stages of adulthood, or even like as children, as school children, like in primary school or in high school. They don't tell us that we need to learn about these things in the future. Like, everyone goes, oh, well, it'll be good to have your driver's license at this point. It would be good to do this, go to uni at this point, and so on and so forth, renting, blah, 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 blah. But I've never heard anyone talk about finance. Like, it's just something that wasn't ingrained in children when they're younger. And it sounds ridiculous to do that. But it's easier to, it's easier to approach when you've already known, like, that you need to do this thing. And my dad has been telling me that I need to take up some finance course as well. So I need to get on that. Please teach me. Maybe we'll have you back for a banking episode.
Yeah, it's interesting because we all know money exists, but it's like, how does it work? Where does it come from? Or am I spending too much here? Or how can I bring in more? And it's a taboo topic for some reason, just throughout society. And I guess, I want people to talk about it more, but you kind of need to create a safe space to be able to talk about it.
Yeah,
Definitely.
It's definitely also not like a simple case of save this amount and spend this amount per month. It's so much more than that.
A lot of maths.
Yeah. And the only thing they ever teach you as a child is like, save this amount and spend this amount per month. That's it.
Yeah, like parents play a big part in teaching us about money. And then if your parents didn't know any better, then unless you start to talk to other people and learn about how other people behave with money, you're going to pretty much repeat the same patterns.
Yeah.
I know, like with my husband, he's a big saver because that's what he learned from his parents. And they didn't even explicitly teach him you should save money, although I think they did. But for me, I'm not the necessarily the saver in the relationship, in the household. So I'm more of the spender because growing up, I saw money gave me access to all the pretty things I wanted. So if I have money, it's for spending. It's not for saving.
Yeah.
So that's what we learned growing up. And then, you got to learn. You got to learn some more when you grow up.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like starting with finance books is a good start. But I think you got to find people. And there's heaps of podcasts and YouTube channels and stuff that start to talk about this now, which is like really awesome. But you need to be interested.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes it's a bit of a bummer.
Yeah.
Because I think some people say like, I'm all about the money and I live to make the money. But it's actually, at the end of the day, it's actually not what you want. It's what money can give you that is actually meaningful. And it's something I needed to learn about and kind of retrain, rewire myself for as well. So be aware of money and know that not what you really want in life. And then think about what you want to use the money for. And I think the more money you have, the more money you can use to make a difference in the world. Because I think a lot of people want to make a difference in the world to people. Yeah. And money is not the only resource, but it's a really powerful resource that can enable us to accomplish these big goals.
Yeah. And think about all the emergency funds you could have, Not going to get into what kind of emergency funds. All right. Thank you, Maya, for joining us today. I learned so much about personal style and clothing and how it could affect our confidence. If our listeners want to find out more about you and what you do, where can they go?
So I've shared my link tree. So what is it? Should I spell it out? Or you guys can link it?
Well, we can link it in the show notes.
Yeah.
I think it's linked. I'm not going to try to remember.
It's okay. But my link tree has various links to me on different social media platforms, and they can email me there as well.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll catch you next episode.
You've been listening to the Self-Improvement Atlas, the Personal Science Insights podcast produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. For more episodes like this from 10 different life management perspectives, search LMSL on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts, so you can get updated on everything we have to offer. We have a wide range of topics readily available for you to check out. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider rating our show, sharing it, and subscribing to our channel, as it helps us grow and bring you more quality resources. More of our work can be found on our website at pe.lmsl.net, where you can join our movement. I'm Marie Stella. Thanks for tuning in.